Okay, well, let's go ahead and get rolling here. We've got more people coming in. So happy Tuesday and good morning, everybody. I hope you had the most delicious cup of coffee or tea or water. I don't know. I don't know what you drink in the mornings, but whatever it was, I hope it was delicious and nutritious. I hope your day's off to a wonderful start. I'm excited for today's training because it's something, I mean, real estate related, but kind of not at the same time. It's something a little different than we've done before. Who knows Jenn Edwards? I mean, who doesn't? If you don't, you're living under a rock. Sorry, we'll help you buy a house. You're in the right place. But Jenn is one half of Mike and Jenn Edwards, who just got their first escrow under contract. Congratulations, that's super exciting. But
Thank
Jenn, you're going to be teaching us about how to read like body and vocal language today, right? And who maybe you could all agree that's kind of important when we're in the business of people. You know, we're not in the business of real estate, we're in the people business. And so if we're in the people business and we're building relationships, I think it's important to know what are some of the signs or cues that we can pick up on when we're interacting with people? How can the body and vocal language or the cues that our clients are giving us help them, right? So you can apply this to real estate. You can apply this to your relationships outside of real estate. You can, I don't know, apply this to people watching. The options are endless. So Jenn, thank you for joining us and taking the charge this morning. You should be good to share your screen and get rolling whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love it. I'm super excited to share this with you guys. Can everyone see my screen? Yeah, great. Okay, so just to give you guys a tiny background, I have a lot to share on this topic, but I wanted to narrow it down to what I think is going to help you guys mainly in cold calling, talking on the phone with your leads and potential clients on the phone and in person. So whether it's you've never talked to this person before or you're building a relationship with this person, there's going to be some of the things that you're going to want to learn about yourself so that you can see it in others. And just to give you a tiny bit of background, I actually, Mike was asking me the other day, like, are you ready for this? Like, do you have all your stuff? And I'm like, I have so much of this stuff in my brain because I spent 20 plus years actually doing this. And I have lots of training in body language, nonverbal language, as well as verbal language communication. I'm a human lie detector, but you don't need that for this. Although Steve says buyers are liars. Okay, so let's get rolling. And I would love your guys' interaction here with this. I'm going to go over 2 different pieces of criteria that I think will help. So bear with me here. Okay, so would understanding how each lead or client communicates help you in your business? Yeah, anyone? Just me? Great. Okay, awesome. And then how about understanding your communication strengths and opportunities? So strengths and opportunities, I don't like using words like weaknesses. We have opportunities, we don't have weaknesses. How would understanding your strengths and opportunities help you? Do you think that would help? Yep. Awesome. I love it. Okay. So we're going to go, has anyone seen this quadrant before? Anyone seen this behavioral styles before? Okay. So as we go through these behavioral styles, you're going to want to identify where you are. And then you'll start to think to yourself, oh, I know someone who else is a go-getter, or, oh, I know. Like, as we start talking about the different boxes, whether it's go-getter, promoter, examiner, or nurturer, you're going to start thinking about yourself and people you know, and you're going to be able to put them in one of these quadrants. Some of us are in more than one quadrant. Some of us can be in all the quadrants. So don't put yourself in a box. See what I did there? Okay. Awesome. Okay. So What is a go-getter? They're driven, they're decisive, bold, direct. They have a get it done now attitude, and they have a strong desire to win and lead. Can anyone relate to that? I'm in this box. Okay. Now, how do you deal with these people? And I'm actually in this box. I'm in this quadrant. So I always tell people, just be direct with me. You don't have to sugarcoat things with me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I really don't care. I actually don't have time for you to sandwich everything. Just tell me what it is, be direct, and let's move on. So you want to be clear and to the point with these people. Don't waste time with small talk. Don't back up your points with a bunch of, information and facts that this particular person, the go-getter, doesn't really care about. And you're going to want to challenge them to meet their goals, meaning because they're so eager to win, they want to be challenged. So when you think about, so if we were going to think about a go-getter in terms of cold calling, you're cold calling someone and you can tell they don't really have a lot of time. They're quick. They're like, yeah, no, I'm actually really busy right now. That doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you. That just means that they don't want to talk to you right now. So the more you get outside of your emotions and yourself, and you actually are able to identify where someone is in one of these boxes, you'll be able to communicate much better with them. So for example, with a go-getter, I've had go-getters where I've totally cold called them and they're like, hey, I'm actually really busy right now. And I'm like, oh, no worries. Would an email or text message be easier for you? Oh yeah, that totally works. All right, great. We'll talk to you then. I'll go ahead and send a text message right now. And guess what? They actually replied to my text message. It's not that they didn't want to talk to me. And by the way, when I send them a text message, it is like 2 sentences because I've already identified them to be a go-getter. So I'm not being long-winded. I'm not going into all this explanation of who I am and how I can help them and blah, blah, blah. I'm really clear and very direct. Okay, everyone good with go-getter? Anyone have any questions? Okay, promoter. Promoters are energetic, outgoing, fun-loving, talkative, loves to be the center of attention, and dislikes details. Anyone a promoter? Some of a promoter? Kind of, some of it. I'm some of a promoter. I do like details, but other than that, I can tend to be a promoter. How do we talk to promoters? How do we communicate with them? We want to be likewise enthusiastic, talkative, compliment what they're doing well. They like to hear like, oh my gosh, you did all of that today. You're so amazing. That's incredible. How'd you get all that done before 9 a.m.? Give them the big picture and make it fun. Funsies, right? And so this person is, when you call them or you're talking to them, they are, you're like, hey, this is Jen with the brand realty theme. They're like, oh my gosh, hi, Jen. How are you today? I'm like, I'm great. Thanks for asking. I respond, I've identified them as a promoter, and I know that I'm going to be on the phone longer with them, even if they have zero interest in buying or selling a home. Right? But they're like, hey, they just want to talk. They're totally fine with talking to strangers. They just want to, talk about what's happening in their life. And you know what? It would actually do us all good to spend a good 5-10 minutes with these people, even if it does absolutely nothing for your business. Okay. Any questions on the promoter? Awesome. Examiner. Examiners are thorough and research oriented. They avoid risk. They enjoy strategies and processes. They may take a long time to develop trust with them. Anyone know an examiner? Can anyone identify an examiner? Yeah, you do. Chris, who is it? I can't hear you.
Me.
It's you. Okay. And can anyone identify a prominent person at the brand realty team who you think is an examiner?
Siri.
Siri.
Siri. Yeah.
This is Siri right here.
Keith Wheeler.
Keith Wheeler. Yep. They're total examiners. Yes, I love it. Okay, how do you communicate with examiners? Stay positive and even keeled. If you think about Siri, she's super positive, but her tones are usually the same. Me personally, like my tones are all over the place. She's like always positive and excited, but she has like this really balance in her tone. You explain the why to examiners. Examiners are like they're, I like to think of them as like architect people or financial planners, or you think about the professions that some people are in and you can understand why they're in that profession because they're an examiner. Help them to map out how to get the most out of their relationship with you. So if you have a client who is an examiner, you're going to have to spend extra time with them, walking them through the process. You'll probably explain to them the process multiple times. You'll probably want to stay in the process that you're in, the part of the process that you're in. You're going to want to make sure that they understand that. You'll say, now remember, as I said before, you'll want to say things like that. Remember, like we talked about before, or as we've stated before, right? Like, and you'll help them remember over and over the process. They need to understand, they need a little bit more of explanation and dare I say, like babying. I mean, I call it babying because I'm not an examiner. Like I just want the down and dirty, right? I don't need you to explain it to me for 10 minutes every single time. Although I do forget things and sometimes need to explained over, but does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, but these people, examiners, they're chill. They're not technically in a rush. They're going to do all their research. I know an examiner. I may or may not be married to a partial examiner. Okay, any questions on any questions on examiner? Okay. Here's a good one. This is the last one of the 4. Nurturer. Nurturers are slow paced, but they're very people oriented. They're patient. They're helpful. They're typically includers. They notice when someone is not being included and they want to make sure everyone is included. They're very understanding, sentimental. They have a lot of empathy and sympathy when they're talking to people. They have a difficult time saying no. They're focused on helping others. If this is not balanced correctly in someone's life, a nurturer is a codependent person. Okay. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So all of these behavioral styles, there's a we can be these in our strengths, but also in our opportunities. So even if you identify yourself as one of these behavioral styles, it doesn't mean you're acting in that behavioral style in a healthy way, if that makes sense. So nurturers are, they're very chill. They're very, your client, if your client is a nurturer, you're talking to someone on the phone who is a nurturer, they're the people that if you haven't recognized them a nurturer, they could be the ones that suck the life out of you and take up all of your time, and they're not doing anything with you. And you have to be able to identify those from the examiner. The examiner will eventually buy a home or sell a home with you. The nurturer may very well not. So you want to give lots of details and walk them through the process, but focus on ways that they can provide support for others. Like, you'll want to think about what them buying a house or selling their house actually means to their family, to their community, to their future generations, to their kids, leaving a legacy. Does that make sense? Nurturers need, if you think they're sentimental and possibly codependent, so they want to know how their behavior and their actions impact other people in a positive way. Okay, so let's open it up for a little bit of discussion here. Were you able to identify, and everyone, if you can take yourselves off of mute, I want to hear it. Were you able to identify your behavioral style? Let's talk about it. I want to hear from you.
Jen, sorry, I missed the first like 4 minutes. This is Ashley. Can we be more than one?
Yes, you can be in multiple quadrants.
Okay.
Or a couple of them, or just one.
Can you put the quadrants back up on the screen?
Yeah, we'll do this one.
I'll chime in here. Something I noticed, I tend to be either nurturer or go-getter, which are the opposites. If I need to get shit done, I'm a go-getter. I'm leading the charge. I don't have time for anyone else to be wasting my time. But when I don't, I'm usually in that mode when I have to be, and when it's like stakes are high and it's go time. But I would say my default is nurturer. So I thought that was interesting that the two opposites is what I usually go for.
Yeah. And that's not abnormal. That's totally normal. We have, so if you were to do some sort of behavioral style, questionnaire, you might fall somewhere along the bottom of the go-getter green, or the top of the nurturer.
Interesting.
And it probably would depend on your day or your week. Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
I feel like I fall on all of them except the exam.
Okay.
So very extreme. Yeah, I can be a go-getter, fast-oriented, but I'm also very empathetic. So that nurture side comes out.
Okay. I love it. Anyone else want to share?
I think I fall under nurturer.
You totally do. This has become so second nature to me that within just a few minutes of meeting someone, I'm able to identify them without even sometimes putting a name to it. I'm able to identify their behavioral style. And because here's the thing, when you're talking with someone else, it's not that we need to be everything to all people, but when it comes to communication, we need to be able to communicate with people on their level. So for example, I have an older son, and for a period of time, every time I called him, he didn't answer the phone, but then he would text me. And he would text me, and he'd always respond to my text messages, and he would have conversations with me in text. And for me, it was like, oh my gosh, can this text message conversation be over? Like, this could have been we could have done this in 5 minutes in a phone call. But what I realized is, if I want to have a relationship with him, and I want to communicate with him, I need to communicate on his level, the way he communicates best. And right now it's text message. Now he calls me all the time and he wants to stay on the phone for like an hour. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I'm enjoying these moments because he is my kid, but I'm a go-getter. I'm in a lot of the go-getter, promoter, and examiner. I'm in most of those 100% in the go-getter. But Christopher is in the nurturer. So he can stay on the phone and talk to me about all these things that's going on in his life and take all this time to, tell it to me in every single detail. And I'm going to listen because I'm his mom. But in my head, I'm like, I have 100 things to do that I could be doing right now.
I think that's how my mom feels about me.
What's that?
And she's like, do you need something? And I'm like, oh, just seeing what's going on, driving in the car. I thought I'd call you.
Yeah.
Lingering around.
I have the same thing with my daughter. It's mainly texting. That's if I want to communicate with her, that's just kind of how it is. And half the time it's like funny stuff from TikTok or whatever, and then I try to make sure that I call her at some point. I never say like, it's not, because she'll be like, I'm at work. Can I call you back? Like, it's not an emergency. I just want to say hi and hear her voice, and stuff. But
hey,
at some
Jen,
point
this is Christina. And I identify with 3 of these. Little touch upon promoter, examiner, and nurturer. And I can't wait to see you on Thursday because I'm so curious to see what you think my strength or my weaknesses are. So hopefully we have
opportunities.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're able to identify our behavioral style, then it helps us to recognize it in other people and how we need to respond to them. And and we can still chat about this. We're still in the conversation and discussion piece. And before we move on to the next, what I really want to help all of us understand is that we really have to take ourselves out of thinking what other people are thinking. Oftentimes our perspectives and our mindsets are projected onto other people, and it's not accurate. So you may think, especially when you're cold calling in the lead pond, or you're just talking to someone at the grocery store or at the gym, whether you know them or not, and you think because they're rushing or because they have yes and no answers, or, you think, oh, they're not interested. That may not be true. It's not personal. All these conversations you're having, don't take the stuff personal. Now, has anyone ever had someone just hang up on you when you call them? Hi, I'm Jen with the Brand Realty team. And they're like, who? Oh, I'm Jen. I'm a real estate agent with the Brand Realty team. Click. Anyone had that? Now, who do you think, what behavioral style do you guys think they have? Anyone?
I'd say it's probably a go-getter because they're too busy to just do anything.
Yeah,
Talk.
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a go-getter. And you know what? It's not even personal. They just don't have time to explain to you that they don't want to talk to you. So they'd rather just hang up. It's not even a matter of lack of confrontation. It's just a matter of they don't really care enough to explain it to you. So they're not in this quadrant at all. They're just going to hang up, and because they're moving on, they're tasking, they're moving on. They're like, you are not a part of their purpose. And so they're not worried about it. They're just going to hang up on you. It's not personal. It's really not. It's not a big deal. Just click the next.
Jen, I'm literally laughing. This is Ashley, because this is like hilarious, but I think I'm go-getter and promoter. I don't know. But the whole thing of like hanging up when people call me like a cold call and I'm like doing a Zoom. I'm like, hello. And it's like super slow. I'm just like, get to the point. What is this? Like, what are you selling? Tell me. He's like, oh, no. If now's not a good time, I'll call you back later. I'm like, no, I don't want you to call me back later. Sum it up. What is this about? Let's go. And he's like, no, I don't need that. Thank you. Bye.
Exactly. So that's interesting that you said that, because we can do that too when we're cold calling. So I've had people call me and say, I'm like, hey, this is Jen. And they're like, oh, hi, Jen. How are you today? And I'm thinking to myself, because I am a go-getter, just like you were saying, what is this about? Who are you? And they'll start saying, oh, I hope you're having an amazing week. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, who was this? And they'll say, oh, my name's so-and-so and I'm with so-and-so. And I'm like, okay. And I really do try to be nice on the phone, because I don't like to be that person who hangs up or all of those things. That's that tiny, tiny bit of me that's in the nurturer, like that speck of purple that I have.
Yeah.
And I just say to them, hey, listen, I really don't want to be rude to you today. So tell me what it is. And then I will let you know if this is going to be, if we're going to be able to work together or partner together. And they'll say, oh, I'm calling to see if you want, we have this magazine, blah, 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 I want to put you. And I just say, I'm not interested, but thank you so much. If they try to keep talking, I say, I don't want to hang up on you and I don't want to be rude, but I am hanging up right now. So goodbye. What they don't recognize is that I'm a go-getter. Now, because I can do that same thing, but I can recognize it much quicker in other people, because I am that person that's also like, hey, this is Jen with the Brand Realty team. How are you doing today? Based on their answer right then and there, I've already identified what kind of communication style they want from me. And then I switch right to it. So if they say, oh, I'm doing great, how are you? I know that they want to chat, that, they might be an examiner, they might be a nurturer, I'm not sure yet. And then as we continue to talk, then I'm like, oh, okay, now I see where we're at. Probably within 60 to 90 seconds, I know what I have to do to adjust to their communication style.
Hey,
Anyone
Jen,
else?
can you
Yeah.
explain could you explain how these would work besides like cold calling? Like, let's say a certain personality to get them to the finish line to purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually going to go into a whole other realm of things. So you guys just want to, and so we're going to move on from this, but it still kind of applies, but we're going to be talking now about nonverbal communication. And how many of you know that nonverbal communication speaks louder than words? Yeah, all of us. That's amazing. Actually, I am going to get there before we close out. Now, remember, you guys, I have so much of this training and stuff in my head, so we can veer off of this. But if you guys have any questions, I want to hear it, because I want to talk about this stuff, and we can actually talk literal situations too. So here's the thing, body language, we have to be able to identify someone's body language when we're with them in person, but also you can get this on the phone. So whether it's cold calling or you're talking to your client that you've talked to 5 times before, or you're in person with them, you have to be able to adjust to their body language, which you can hear in their tone. I actually used to, there's a whole other certification for fraud investigations, which I used to do in person, but also a whole new level of certification to interview people on the phone. And I used to do that as well. Actually, I can tell if someone's lying to me on the phone, over the phone. So it's their fluctuation in voice. It's how they answer their questions. It's their pause. And all of those things you can actually hear on the phone. So whether you're on the phone with them or you're in person, these types of communication tactics will tell us all kinds of things. So some of this is in person. crossing arms. If you're talking with someone and you're asking them, so what did you, I'm going to back up a little bit so you guys can see me. So, what did you think about this condo? What were some of the things that you liked about it? What were some of the things you didn't like about it? How would you rate this? A 1 to 7, da, da, da. And you're talking, and I talk with my hands like this all the time. And they do this to me. Right now, I already know that they didn't like it. They're doing this and they're looking out, they're thinking, right? This indicates that someone's thinking. And they're already closed off to it. So what I will tend to do is actually give them an out. We actually had a client on Sunday who is very much a nurturer, and she did not know how to be direct at all. So I gave her an out. When I asked her, what did you think about this? 1 through 7, 7 being your unicorn, 1 being like, why are we even here? I don't like it at all. I don't ever want to see another one like this. She had a hard time telling me. So she was kind of doing this. So I know right away, let me help her. So I said, look, it's a 1 or a 2, right? I'm going to help her because she can't be direct enough to tell me, and I'm a direct person. Raising eyebrows. I have this eyebrow on this side that sometimes raises all by itself. And I don't even know I'm doing it, but it is an indication to the person I'm communicating with what I'm thinking. And however they perceive that is their reality, quite honestly. Crossing legs when sitting, if you're sitting with someone and they cross their legs and they turn a little bit to the side, they're put off. They're shutting down. They're shutting down. You're losing them. Shifting in their seat, appearing to be uncomfortable, or straight silence. Those are all signs that you are losing someone and you're not understanding how they best communicate. These are all nonverbal communications, gestures, facial expressions, the tone of voice, all of those send very strong messages. The question is, are you seeing it and are you listening? Because if you are totally steamrolling all the signs that they're giving you, you will not be responding in a way that they need you to respond.
Jen, this is how my dad acts every time I talk to him. So does that mean I'm annoying the shit out of him or what?
The first
Probably,
thing that comes
actually.
to
Interesting. This is so cool. Okay.
the first thing that comes to my mind when you have someone like this, they're not feeling heard. If it's a man, they're most likely feeling disrespected. And they're not feeling heard, and they're not feeling like you're getting them. Like, you're not getting me. You're not hearing me. You're not understanding what I'm saying. You're not paying. I'm just shutting down because you're not paying attention. And so, yes, like Ashley said, you can use all of these tools in every area of your life. But yeah, if you want to become a better communicator, you have to first understand how other people are communicating, and you have to be able to read their body language, their tone of voice, their facial expressions, and everything that they're saying to you, and how are they communicating with you. Any questions on this one? Okay. So eye contact, listening versus active listening. Here's the thing. Oftentimes when we're talking with someone, when the other person is talking, we're thinking about what we're going to say next. So, what you want to do, and I know we do a lot of objection handling and scripts, practicing and role playing. And let me tell you why all of that is absolutely critical to your business and your life. If you are so worried about what you're going to say next and where you are in your script, you are going to lose engagement with the person you're talking to. You're going to lose them. They're going to read it. And even if they're completely, how would you say, even if they're completely like, they don't even see it, you're going to keep hitting walls. You're going to keep hitting dead ends. If they're completely oblivious to the fact that you're not picking up what they're laying down, you're still eventually going to lose them. And if they are not oblivious to it, they're going to recognize it right away and they're going to start shutting down. And they'll just get to a point where it's like, well, you know, I've said, I don't know how many times that I don't want carpet, but yet here we are in another condo or house with carpet. Even though you think I could just replace the carpet with the hardwood floors, you haven't heard me say so much that I don't want carpet, that I don't want to replace carpet with hardwood floors. There's a difference between someone who's like, you know what, I don't really like carpet, but if I have to replace it, that's fine, versus I do not want carpet. Do you see that? We got to hear what they're saying, what they want and don't want. And if you are practicing your script and your role playing enough, then you would be able to pick up any conversation at any time and go right back to where you left off after you are engaged with them in what they're saying and engage in a totally different conversation. So yesterday I was meeting with a client and showing her some homes, and you know, we have our script and the things that we're going to say, and right before she even said a word to me, I could tell that she was not having it. I've never met her before, but I knew by her body language, the way she was walking up to me, it was, I just knew something was wrong. And so I said to her, what was her name? Oh, Kaylin. I said, Kaylin, hi, are you good? Is everything okay? Are you good? Because I could tell she was not good. And she's like, oh my gosh, I've had the worst day. And I'm like, oh, let's talk about it. What happened? And it created, like, I wasn't even thinking, I didn't even care if we were going to get into the condo 15 minutes late. Who cares? This is a person, this is a human. And my question to her was, oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay? She could have done one of two things. She could have been like, yeah, I'm totally fine. And kept walking into the apartment. Or she could have been like, oh, it's just such a crazy day. You know, I teach kids with disabilities, which is what she did do. So that tells me she wants to talk about it. So I'm going to listen. And I'm going to talk to her. And then at a point that I think is appropriate, I will go into, well, you know what? Your day is going to get so much better. The world needs people like you. Stick with it. I know you're going to have, you know, you had such a bad day, but tomorrow's going to be a better day. These kids need you, right? We had that whole conversation. I was like, come on, let's go take your mind off of it for a second. Let's go see this condo. And she was so thankful that like we had that conversation rather than just like not being like, oh, she doesn't look happy. Oh, I don't know what that's about. Let me just ignore that. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore people just to get your thing out. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And then just know when they want to talk about it. If she would have said, oh, it's totally fine, I'm good, then I would have recognized she doesn't want to talk about it. And I would have been like, okay, well, let me know if there's anything I could do. Right? And then this next comment that I'm going to make, and we can open it up because this typically rubs people the wrong way when I say this. Are you so self-conscious and insecure, which in turn is self-centeredness, that you are hiding behind not wanting to say certain things or talk to people? Like if you had a client who obviously walked up to you, who you'd never met before, who was very distraught, would you ignore it and just go on because with your script, because that's what you're focused on? Or would you actually have the mindset to just be able to ask the question? Or are you thinking so much about what other people think about you that you can't have these conversations, that you can't recognize where someone else is at? Because that's what it is. Insecurities are self-centeredness. You're thinking so much about yourself and what people think about you that you're not thinking about anyone else. And so I know that's a little sharp around the corners, but as you all already know, I ain't no candy store. I won't sugarcoat things for you, but let's talk about this listening versus active listening. Anyone have any comments or want to ask any questions? Crickets. Did I rub anyone the wrong way with that self-centeredness?
Jen, you know, I will always be the one talking, but I don't want to like hog the floor. So
Do it.
no, I think what you're saying is actually so intriguing. And I'm literally now piecing, like I'm on my phone going through all of my clients and like putting who they are. And you just gave me like an epiphany for this one client that I've really been struggling with. So I think she's more of the nurture. And every time I try to talk to her, so I keep going back to that part, but like every time I try to talk to her about, say, like getting different financing, because she has Navy Federal, but it's like 45 days out, right? So we're not winning these contracts. She just completely ignores me and shuts down. So it's just, all of this is just, yeah, it's like mind opening. So thank you so much for putting this together. This is truly awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Yay. Thank you. I'm glad it's going to help.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Come on, guys. Don't leave Jen hanging.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, because you know what? I'm here for it either way. I don't have insecurities. I'm not really worried about what any of you are thinking of me right now. So here's the thing. The better communication you have with your leads, your clients, the higher chance you have of having better conversations with them. Better conversations are going to turn into what I call VCP. Anyone heard of VCP before? Anyone? Anyone know what it is? Shout it out.
No. What is it?
Visibility, credibility, and profitability. So the more you're able to communicate with someone through their communication style and be at their level, the more you're visible to them, and that they create, now they're creating an idea about you and who you are. That in turn, that turns into credibility. If you're someone who's not, they don't feel heard, they don't feel like you're sympathizing with them, they don't feel like you're on track with them, they feel like you're rushing them, they feel like you're not going fast enough, they feel like they're not being, all of those things will damage your credibility. And without credibility, there is no profitability. So visibility, credibility, and profitability. If you can talk to someone in a way that they need to be listened to and spoken to, and you're going to get more visibility with them, that's going to create credibility, and ultimately they're going to stand by you no matter what, which in turn creates profitability. So it's all about building relationships. So we had a conversation earlier this morning with someone. I don't know if this person's on the phone, and I don't want to throw them out there, but just building relationship with someone over getting through your script. Like I said, if you know your script, one of the things that I know made me, I was always, not to pat myself on the back, but I was always the #1 investigator with every company that I worked for. The reason is because I was able to have an answer no matter what anyone was about to say. I had an answer for it. I was so like my script, I ate, slept, and breathed my script. It became a part of my everyday communication. It became a part of my everyday observations. And so when I was in a conversation with someone, and you know, I'm in this time in my career, at this particular career, I was talking to people who embezzled thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes money and supplies and product from the company that I worked for. So, I mean, that's not easy for them, right? But you know what? I built rapport with them. Hey, I'm just here to talk about a couple of things. We're just here to have a conversation. I'm here to learn a little bit more about you and talk about why you made some of the decisions that you made. I'm not here to ask you what you did. I'm here to talk about why you did what you did, and that you are not what you did. That's not who you are, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I have not been in that career for 10 years, and I can still sit down with someone right now and interview them and get them to admit what they've done in their whole life. So if you get all this stuff down, then what you're doing is building relationship and rapport with people rather than just thinking about what you're going to say and what your next sentence is and what the next place is you're going to go take them to, and what the next, oh, we gotta do this. We gotta put in an offer. We gotta do this. No, be on their timetable. I had a client, the same client yesterday, she rated a condo a 6. And I said, okay, a 6 to me means we're going to talk about putting in an offer. She goes, ooh, I'm not ready for that. And I said, okay, you don't have to be ready for that. So immediately I knew right then and there, she was not a go-getter. There's no way she's not ready. She needs more, even though she's going to probably see 10, maybe 5 to 10 6s before she's ready. Why? It's just, that's her personality. That's her behaviors. That's what she does. She's a nurturer. She's an examiner. She's a teacher, examiner. That totally makes sense, right? She's a teacher, she's an examiner, and she's a nurturer. And she teaches kids with disabilities. So it was so easy right away. The second she told me that, I was like, she's a nurturer. And then the second she told me, I'm not ready to put an offer in, she's an examiner. I'm on her timetable. I'm not going to rush her.
Now that you said that, it's extremely fascinating, like everything you're saying. And it made me think also of my clients and a lot of nurses I would put in that nurture category, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can tell a lot about a person by what they do for a living.
Yeah.
A lot of us probably have a lot more go-getter in us than maybe we know. If you're a real estate agent, I hope you're at least half a go-getter. You need to be. Right? No, just me. That's cool. So anyway,
Jenn,
yes.
with this specific client, how would you move her across the finish line eventually?
Well, have you identified them? What quadrant are they in?
Well, like you said,
They're not a go-getter.
Yeah, so the nurturer and the examiner. So would you just like keep showing them homes for like a certain time and then eventually just kind of be like, hey, okay. Kind of like the what's happening to Taylor, what she put in the chat yesterday.
Yeah. There's going to be 1,000 variables to all of these things that we're talking about, right? Like we can talk about 100 conversations, and all of those conversations are going to go 100 different ways because I've been doing this for so long, I can shift in a conversation in a relationship at any given time. So that's the other thing, we have to be able to shift with them. But at some point I might say to someone, actually, I may have an example for you. Mike and I have a client right now who we were talking to every day. And then we had a conversation. It was like, hey, okay, so here's the thing. You're not ready. You have to get some things in order. In the meantime, I'm here if you need anything. If you have any questions, if you're interested in a property, I'm happy to look at it. I'm happy to take a look at it. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to drive around and look at all these properties because we don't have everything in place that it's going to take for you to actually get one of those properties yet. And that's okay. In the meantime, I'm here. I'm on your timetable. So, it's really hard to say. Like, I would never say, well, if after 6 months, or if after 6 talks, or if after this number of that, or how we do this or we do that, like, I'm never going to be able to put like a specific structured guideline on it, because that would go against everything that we're talking about here today. Like, you've got to really be able to flow with it and just recognize where someone's at, and then just say, okay. So this young girl yesterday, she said, you know, this is a 6. I love this. Like, I want this place. And I said, okay, the next step would be putting in an offer. And I totally understand you're not ready to do that. So where do we go from here? Now, if she says, well, I want to go look at some more homes, guess what? It's probably not going to be like tomorrow morning. Hey, are you available next Monday? Because now if I try to schedule her for like tomorrow, what did I just do to a nurturer and examiner? She's like, no. That's too soon. She's already stressing out and shutting down. So I just gave her a week. A week to you may seem like a week. There's going to be 100 properties coming and going in a week. That's okay. There's always going to be other stuff out there. Recognize where they're at.
That's really good. That makes total sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share or ask questions or?
There's a question in chat.
Oh my gosh, the chat. Let me look in there. So sorry. Okay, let me go. What questions can you ask the person that is more analytical? That's an examiner, so that they can define their timeline and specific mile markers to be the deadline that they'll make a decision by. What does it look like in their mind? Identify the obstacles. Then can I share my concerns, lay out what needs to happen so they give it success? Then ask, can we slightly modify and combine our game plans to ensure the also, you want to help them with an examiner. You want to help them come up with their own, like their own guidelines, their own deadlines, their own goals. Because if you tell them what their goals are, if you tell them, well, this is where the market's at, they don't want to hear that. A go-getter wants to know, where is the market and what do I need to do to secure this property? But an examiner, they need to come up with their own stuff because they're examining it. If you just put it in front of them, they're going to be like, but those aren't my goals. And I don't know, where did you get those goals? And where do you get that, all of that stuff? They're going to do a lot of research on their own. This is going to be the person that comes to you and says, well, I know everything there is to know about the market, even though I've never purchased one. Okay, well, tell me what you know and tell me what you would like to see in your future in terms of buying real estate. What would you like to see? What are your goals? What is your timeline? What are your obstacles? Well, I have to get my finances in straight. Okay, I'm happy to refer you to a financial planner. Great. Let's start there. They're not in a rush.
Hey,
They're
Jen.
not the ones that are going to fill out the application to be pre-approved like tomorrow. Yes.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice today. So as I was typing into the chat, I just wanted to give you a huge shout out. Phenomenal job. I can tell how much you have studied this and what a student you've been of this. So thank you for sharing it with everyone. And I always say communication is our #1 tool and skill set as an agent. It's not real estate, it is communication. So what you gave here today is absolute gold. And I genuinely just appreciate it. And I'm sitting here like saying, heck yes, and preach on, sister, and yes. So thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. One of Mike's favorite quotes, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you are correct. Thank you.
Well done, Jen.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Jen.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Jen. This is
guys.
awesome. I appreciate you.
Good job,
Thank
babe.
you.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too.